This morning, one of the leading Republican presidential candidates, Dr. Ben Carson, is facing controversy over comments he made about the Oregon school shooting.
I would not just stand there and let him shoot me. I would say, hey, guys, everybody attack him. He may shoot me, but he can't get us all.
Take action.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
A new Quinnipiac poll shows Carson in second place to Donald Trump in 3 swing states, Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Carson is out with a new book. It's called A More Perfect Union, What the People Can Do to Reclaim Our Constitutional Liberties. The book covers everything from gun rights to freedom of religion, and we are pleased to welcome Dr. Carson to Studio 57. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
What did you mean when you said, I would not just stand there?
I want to plant in people's minds what to do in a situation like this, because unfortunately this is probably not going to be the last time this happens.
Do you believe the victims in Oregon just stood there?
From the indications that I got, they did not rush the shooter. The shooter can only shoot one person at a time. He cannot shoot a whole group of people. And so the ideal is overwhelm him so that not everybody gets killed.
Do you know who Chris Mintz is?
No.
So Chris Mintz is an Army veteran, and he was shot 7 times. He did actually rush the shooter, and he's being hailed as a hero. He actually blocked the door. He saved people's lives. So someone in the instance did actually act heroically.
That verifies what I'm saying. That's exactly what should be done. And if everybody does that, the likelihood of him being able to kill as many people diminishes quite significantly.
You're being accused this morning, though, of being insensitive to the victims, because people say, look, you don't really know what you'll do if, God forbid, you're ever in that situation. How do you respond to that?
I respond to that by saying we live in a culture now where people decide that everything you say, we need to set up battle lines, and we need to get on this side of it or that side of it, rather than collectively trying to figure out how we solve the problem. Well, it's sort of an immature attitude, but it seems to be something that's rampant in America today.
Well, the question is, what do we do about this? I mean, everybody expects that will happen again. The president even said it's become routine.
Right.
So how does a nation come to grips with this fact? It's a combination of who's doing it, access to weapons, and the opportunity.
Well, you know, in medicine, we have a tendency to make decisions based on evidence, not on ideology. So let's say this were a disease. What we would be saying is, let's take each one of these shooters and let's go back and let's study their lives. And let's see if we can see some commonalities here. Are there some early warning signals for people like this so that we can begin to identify them and intervene before the tragedy occurs, not only for those people who were shot, but for the shooter themselves?
So how would you do that, number one? And secondly, once you begin to see a pattern, how do you make sure that that pattern will help you lead to the next potential assailant?
Well, I think we have to, for instance, empower the psychiatrist, the psychologist. In a number of these cases, these people have already been working with mental health professionals, but nothing was done about it. And we have to be able to move to the next step, not just recognizing that they're mentally ill, but being able to take the appropriate interventional steps. Now, what are the appropriate...
Should there be new laws to make it harder for people who have mental illness to purchase guns?
For people who have been declared dangerous individuals by a mental health professional, absolutely we should be looking for a mechanism to keep dangerous weapons out of their hands. Now, you know, we need to study all the possibilities, and we cannot do anything that compromises the Second Amendment. But as long as we keep in mind, we don't want to compromise the Second Amendment, but we also want to keep dangerous weapons out of the hands of dangerous people, that makes eminent sense.
At the time of the Second Amendment, though, they were talking about muskets. They weren't talking about the AK-47s and the high-powered rifles that we have today. You write in your book that you thought the ban on military-style assault weapons was a good idea, but you've now written that you've since changed your mind. What changed your mind?
Well, you'll also see that, that I talked about the fact that they recognized that things would change, that we would become a more modern society, that we face different principles, different situations, but we had to recognize that it was the principles that were important. So what were the principles of the Second Amendment? And those principles were, we wanted to make sure that the people had the ability to assist the military in case of an invasion, and that the people also had the ability to protect themselves from an overly aggressive federal government. That was a very important part of the reason for it. Now, obviously, if we say, well, we're talking about muskets, so yeah, you can have a musket, but you know, as we advance in terms of our weaponry, you can't have any of those things. That violates the principle.
Michael Bloomberg, former mayor, is also very close to the university that you were at, Johns Hopkins, and a proud graduate. He has become a very, very strong advocate for gun control. What is it that he doesn't understand that you understand?
Well, I think we ought to get him to answer that question.
Okay, but let me get with you first, and then I'll go to him.
What I understand quite vividly is what Daniel Webster said. Daniel Webster said, America will never suffer under tyranny because the people are armed. That's what I understand. So I don't want to see tyranny occur here. You know, Adams also said that there may come a time when we do not have good people at the helm of our country. We can't always assume that it's going to be that case.
You've criticized President Obama, who's going to Oregon on Friday to meet with some of the victims' families. Is there? You said it's becoming a political issue. Can you change this conversation without politicizing it?
Well, first of all, let's set the record straight. What I was asked if I were president, would I go? Mm-hmm. And I said, no, not if it was going to open wounds and inflict, you know, a lot of controversy. I would not. I said I would have probably lots of other things on my schedule that I could do. But the other thing, this is important, the other thing is I don't think I would have the pushback if I were president, because I wouldn't be picking and choosing which groups I sympathize with. I would have talked to Kate Steinle's family, who was killed by an illegal alien. Yeah. And you know, you have to be compassionate to everybody. You don't pick and choose who you're going to be compassionate to.
So if in fact you as president could play a role and express the nation's grief in going to Oregon, you'd be pleased to do that, and you would object to a president whose effort is to console the grief of a nation and the families who have been suffering.
I wouldn't object to such an objective.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Carson.
Thank you, Dr. Ben Carson.
Pleasure. Okay.
His book, A More Perfect Union, is on sale right now.